So yes, lads, our F124 driver career mode is spicing up, and despite our poor form in the last couple of races, with a weird P5 and a DNF in Mexico, we are now getting a chance to prove ourselves once again at the Sao Paulo Grand Prix in Brazil, looking to bounce back after the DNF last time out at a track which is normally quite good for me, and this is the there's two more races after this one, so this is round 14 of 16. And yeah, it should be a track where I'm quite good, and we proved that in Sprint Quali 1, which is meant to have rain, same with the actual sprint itself, as we go and finish P9 on the mediums, which isn't too bad for a first lap. And into the second lap we go, and because this is a sprint weekend, that means there's going to be a lot more action. Within this video, we also did decide to skip practice 1 and just not do it. So, wow, editing at midnight is not ideal again. I mean, this has been ready for ages, but I've already done another race since then, so what I need to do is I need to do this one and then edit the next one. So, we're going to make sure we do that within the next couple of days. So, here we are, coming up to the line. How is this lap going to compare to the other drivers? We're going to be currently P5, but by the time we get to the end of the session, we're going to need another lap, and we are smartly collecting the slipstream from George Russell, which is going to allow us to gain extra lap time. And through this middle sector, we're just getting the slipstream of Alonso. We're also taking the middle sector apparently a lot better, but I feel like that was more the slipstream from Alonso maybe helping us with our exits and stuff, because by the time we finished the middle sector, we lost a tenth there. By the time we finished the middle sector, we are now 3 tenths up and a purple middle sector, and there was still a lot more time in that middle sector, but maybe if you take away the slipstream gains, maybe we're about on par with what we could do. Pardon me. As I said, it's really late. Up to the line, 5.5 tenth improvement, 107.9 is what we set, only 2 milliseconds ahead of the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. The Ferrari in recent races have been absolutely cooking. They've taken over the lead of the Constructors' Championship, and Leclerc's now looking to close in on the Drivers' Championship. But as we come into Sprint Quali 3, it looks like it's going to be a bit of a washout. But this is our only chance to get a lap in on some relatively somewhat dry track. This is the best track conditions. Other drivers have had better, but we're going to have to try to do our best to do what we can, because this is going to set the grid for the sprint, and obviously in the sprint it's either you get a little points or you get none, so you've got to risk it. So here we are, let's see what we can do on this final lap in Sprint Quali 3. But as we come up towards the middle sector, as you can see behind us, there is a proximity, as you can see on the screen, there is a proximity arrow. That is Lando Norris catching me by loads through the middle sector, which isn't a good indicator, because in the dry, I was quicker than Lando if I put together a good lap. But in the wet, as you can see, he's like right behind me, like even potentially looking to overtake me, as we are 9 tenths off the lap time of Stroll, which means that we are going to be absolutely nowhere in this Sprint Quali 3, which means we're probably going to be 10th, and we have to like it or lump it. And in the end, we crossed the line, P10. Who'd have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? So, Red Bull with Perez and Alonso was also struggling there as well, though, so maybe they also didn't go out at the right time. But obviously for the player in changing conditions, it's so much harder. But yeah, into the sprint, there is meant to be rain at the end of this, so I'm going to risk it. And even though the softs aren't a good race tyre at most tracks, we're going to risk it to see if we can make it towards the end. But it's going to be 5 red lights for the Sao Paulo sprint. And it is lights out, and away we go. Here we are. We need a good start. Starting in P10, already down to P11. We've got 2 cars around our outside, but we're going to send it into turn 1. Again, it's a sprint. No risks, no reward. So we're going to go around the outside of both Perez and Fernando Alonso in turn 1 and 2. And now we're looking to chase after the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz. Also got to keep an eye out behind us. Slipstream, just like at every track, super overpowered. But these guys just ahead of us are fighting. It is slightly allowing the front pack to get away, but there is a lot of fighting going on. And
Here we now can maybe potentially make a dive on Carlos Sainz. So we go down the inside. Bit of a late lunge, but it is a lap 1, so he probably would have been aware of me potentially going for it, especially when I have such, especially when he's more likely to be held up there, but he's going to come back at us though on lap 2. He's going to look to retake P7, but we successfully managed to squeeze him out, which is very, very, very nice indeed. And now there may be an opportunity to overtake in front of us, as McLaren's and Lance Stroll are fighting very heavily. So let's see what we can do. Can we maybe get close enough? Lando Norris, Stroll and Piastri, other cars ahead. It doesn't look like we're going to quite get close enough, but it does look like we're driving quite scruffily. And I think the reason for that is the tyre temps on softs are just so mental on this game. They're just always broken, and as you can see ahead of us again, fighting between Stroll and the McLarens, and we're going to get a good exit here and potentially look to overtake a few of them. As here we come now, we have slipstream, we're using ERS and we've got the better exit. So we're going to go down the inside of Norris, and Piastri tries to use teamwork to stop me overtaking his teammate, and it almost works out for them, but we did barge our way past Norris. None of this teammate bollocks. Get out of the way. Give me my P6. And now we've got Piastri up ahead on the mediums, which I wish I'd done now in hindsight. But, it is what it is. As we go down the inside of a late lunge on Piastri. I don't know if that was an educated move or I broke too late, I've got to send it or I'm going to crash kind of thing. But, yeah, that'll be for you guys to decide. But we're now up into P5. But, the tyres started going off, the temperatures were awful, and we had to go into management mode in terms of driving slower to not make the issue even worse. And Stroll managed to get away, which means he had no slipstream or DRS on that straight, and we severely struggled to stay ahead. But luckily, around Brazil, there is a little tactical I like to use, which is hot lap on both straights and DRS straights, staying behind a quicker car to keep you within touching distance, and then through the middle sector, you've run nothing, and it allows you to resave so you can use again on the straight. And if you need to use overtake to get close enough to not get overtaken or to stay with a car ahead with DRS, then you can do so. And I think that is the perfect strategy for Sao Paulo on this game. And we're going to hopefully, we haven't done it well enough in this race, but hopefully in the race itself we can implement that strategy much better and potentially get a good result. But you never know. You know what, I'm really tired, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a pause from editing, and I'm going to stop editing after the sprint, and you'll get a newer, refresher morning Jake tomorrow. Probably after I've been out for my haircut, actually. But yeah, once I've done that and I'm back, I'll be editing this, and hopefully I'll sound a bit more lively. But here we are, defending again into turn 1 as Norris, mate, what are you doing? He's just decided, yeah, you know what, I'm just going to spin on my own for no bloody reason, and now he's at the back. So Norris has bottled again. And now we've technically only lost one position to Sainz in the last few laps from where we were in P5. But we are going to be attacked by the Red Bull and by Piastri, both in quicker cars, obviously. But nowadays, when you look at the R&D chart, only slightly quicker. We're cooking. We are actually just genuinely quite a solid team now. But we take that really poorly, and it allows Fernando Alonso to come back up our own side. And now we've got Perez and Piastri ahead of us. We're going to look to make some re-overtakes here, hanging it around the outside of Alonso and Perez. Piastri takes it as normal. Obviously, he had the overspeed and was able to keep all the positions. And in the end, we ended up losing him by the end of lap 12, which means that Alonso and Perez are the 2 cars behind. There's potential that we drop out the points here. We have loads of ERS, but even using overtake, the slipstream and DRS that Alonso had and the overtake he probably was using was too much, and he pipped us to the line by probably 2,000, I'd estimate, which is just a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. Hulkenberg got P11, which, if this was actually the race, would be a solid result. Obviously no points, but still a solid result. So we're looking forward to qualifying and the race, which hopefully a fresher, revived Jake will be editing for you guys tomorrow morning. If not, then I've absolutely fumbled.
Hello lads, Morning Me is here, and for the rest of the weekend, which is full qualifying and a 50% race, we are taking brand new engine components. And so I thought that because we were still in Parc Ferme, I completely forgot about the rule of being out of Parc Ferme, so I could have avoided any sort of potential grid drop, because I just assumed, I'm going to end up at the back of the grid.
to brake parfum. So I may as well take a full engine, and in doing so I actually got myself 2 5-place grid penalties, which means that no matter how well we do, and I mean Q1 on mediums actually didn't do too bad. We managed to get P13, only 5.5 tenths from pole, which is great. Which means that we're only dropping 10 positions for the Grand Prix, which means, well, I say only 10 positions. It means I need to ideally qualify within the top 5 to not affect myself too much, but there could be other grid penalties. But in Q2 on our first lap, we make a mistake there in the middle sector, which is worth loads of time, because when you're driving, like, I don't know how to say it really, when you're driving so well and then you make one mistake, that one mistake's worth so much more time than if you're doing a scruffy lap and you make one mistake. But like, the rest of my laps are normally always clean, but I'll make like 1 or 2 mistakes. So it'll be a case of I need to hook up the perfect lap, or I need to make sure that that bit's perfect, because that's going to cost more time than if I mess up somewhere else and sacrifice a bit of time for that. So, you know, as I'm about to demonstrate, as I was down on the first bit of my lap, which was really good, and then we go and gain 2.5 tenths through that bit where we made the mistake on the previous lap, which, you know, obviously gives us 2.5 tenths in the pocket, and then we gain more time on this left-hander as well, taking this way better by, you know, taking a more narrow line, purple middle sector, 3.5 tenths up, and then by the time we get to the line, we're 2 tenths off George Russell, and we set a 107.6, which is going to be enough to see us through in P4, which is quite nice, in between the 2 McLarens, and, you know, George cooking at the minute, and Max is a bit down there, and, you know, for the championship, it's quite big, because Leclerc is closing in on Verstappen at this current time, as of in this game. At this point he was closing in, and Ferrari had, I think, almost overtaken Red Bull in the constructor, so it's very big, this race. And I'm not sure when the last time you saw the results were, whether Red Bull was still ahead or whether Ferrari were ahead, but Leclerc sets a 107.0, we set a 107.6 in the last session, but this is coming up to the line, the end of qualifying. We need to set a decent lap, but it's going to be a 107.5, which is 5 tenths off pole position, and it was a tenth quicker than my Q2 lap, but I do, and as you can see there, by the way, everyone ahead of me was 3 tenths ahead, 4 tenths ahead. They were 2 tenths off pole, one of the closest qualifyings I've ever seen. Hulkenberg's going to be starting P11 due to loads of grid penalties for like science and stuff. I should have been starting P17, but I'm only going to start P14, and that is thanks to grid penalties from Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton, and I think someone else who was starting above me, which is going to be the thing that maybe saves me in this race, because P14 is doable to get points, and in this fight with Aston Martin for the constructors, for P6, I think we're fighting for, no, for P5, it's huge. It's absolutely huge and crucial that we try and beat at least one Aston Martin, because we currently have the points advantage. So we just need to make sure that we stay ahead of at least one, just to make sure that gap doesn't keep coming down. So here we go, 5 red lights for the Sao Paulo Grand Prix, 36 laps of this circuit, and it's lights out, and away we go. As we get an okay start, obviously some cars are going to have poor starts, just like mine, but we get a better run into turn 1. We're going to send it down the inside of Carlos Sainz and my teammate Nico Hulkenberg. Going to leave them space on the inside as we hang around. We're now into P11. Sonoda getting a little bit disgruntled there, potentially on the exit. We're going to go for a move on Yuki Tsunoda down the straight. We're getting the slipstream from Bottas. Not using ERS just yet, but we are going to send it on Yuki Tsunoda anyway. He comes to defend the inside. We have to aggressively push him off track. Luckily, no damage there, but it definitely could have been, as now we're going to chase after Valtteri Bottas. We lost a little bit of time, but the AI get caught up here, so we're going to go for a lunge on Valtteri Bottas, and we are now up into P9, into the points already, and now the car ahead of us is Esteban Ocon, and once again we're really close, and the AI get caught up here, so we're going to go down the inside of Esteban Ocon, sending it from a bit back. He gives us enough room, and we see ourselves up into P8 on lap 1 of the Grand Prix, but now all these cars ahead are genuinely quicker than me. So now we've got to do something about it, as Fernando Alonso is currently in the lead of the Grand Prix as Lance Stroll goes off. Stroll was P5, Alonso was P1. That would have been a huge swing of points in the championship for P5. But Stroll's just locked up and gone off and lost loads of positions. And now we are in this fight, as you can see. This fight goes all the way to the lead. We've got Piastri, Perez, I think it looks like Russell, Alonso, and I think the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc is in this group as we go around the outside of Piastri now and the outside of Sergio Perez. That's 2 for 1 in that corner. That is now us up from P7 to P5 And now we've got George Russell just ahead of us. And then Alonso, Leclerc and Lando Norris was the front three. But Russell's going to get held up, so we're going to go down the inside of Russell. That's 3 positions in 3 corners. We are up to P4 as we are going to eventually finish that move off on Russell on the inside here. Unfortunately, the clip cuts out. But as you can see, we get the move finished. And now we're in a chase for the podium. We are now within DRS range of Fernando Alonso. So, on to lap 9 of 36. Leclerc and Norris are battling. Alonso is now going to join that fight, potentially with a chance for Alonso to take the lead here. Or, potentially chance for myself to make some positions, as Alonso is going to now go down the inside of Leclerc. We're going to hang it around the outside on this corner, try get a little switch back. We nudge Charles Leclerc and send him off track, making him lose positions. Another thing to annoy Ferrari. We've helped Alonso, our potential future teammate, and nudged Charles Leclerc off the track. But when it comes to racing Alonso, we're in a constructors battle with Aston Martin. I'm in a drivers championship battle with Fernando Alonso. But he could be my future teammate. How on earth am I going to play this? As here comes Fernando Alonso and Lando Norris looking to take the lead of the Grand Prix. But Alonso gets a poor exit. He's still going to have more powerful ERS and slipstream and DRS than me. But we're going to look for the move around the outside of Fernando Alonso, and Norris decides to defend him. In the end, we don't even have to come to blows with Fernando Alonso as we take the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Up into the lead, double overtake on that straight, and now Alonso's trying to come around our outside, but we're going to have to send it down the inside to keep at least P2 to stop Fernando Alonso getting P3, but it's all fair racing, as now we're going to... Well, there's a little strategy we use, and I'm not sure if I'm ever going to show it, but basically, on the 2 straights, we use hot lap. And then through the middle sector, we use no ERS, so then if we're too far back here, for example, I can then use overtake to get close and make sure the car behind doesn't overtake, as we're probably about to do here. Which, actually, we're not, because we're now going to box on lap 13 of 36. 23 laps left in this Grand Prix, but I know the hard tyres are absolutely incredible around this circuit. And the tyre wear's struggling a little bit, the temperatures were getting a bit much. So we need to go onto the hards, which have incredible tyre capabilities in terms of wear and in terms of temperatures. The hards are the tyre this year, and they are the best tyre to race on. So we get a 2.4 pit stop, which is quite nice. I'm going to come back out in the Grand Prix around about near Lance Stroll, because he had a car issue and he dropped back like 10 positions or something stupid due to the car issue. But yeah, by the time we get to the end of lap, because we pit on lap 13 to 14, we're now going on to lap 18, and now everyone else is deciding to pit. So we've gone for a massive undercut. We've gone for a 4-lap undercut on the cars around us. So, but the thing is about the hards and about not having DRS is that you lose time not having DRS because it's so powerful. And we do come out ahead of Norris, but only by 1.3 seconds. So we only managed to get a 2-second swing on Norris within 4 laps, which is still 5 tenths a lap, considering the AI has better wear on mediums than I do, but my tyre wear for hards is so much better than theirs. So it's now going to be a case of, can we hold off Lando Norris? It's going to be interesting, but by the time we get towards lap 20, everyone else has boxed. We have now reclaimed the lead of the Grand Prix, but Lando Norris takes that swiftly away from me, and he takes the lead of the Brazilian Grand Prix. So now, in terms of following Lando, it's going to be a case of use hot lap to stay with him, use DRS to stay with him, charge user during the middle sector, and then stick with him on the straights and try pull away and guarantee myself a P2, because we are currently 4 seconds ahead of Leclerc. If Norris drops me, we're probably going to lose about 5 tenths a lap to the cars behind, and that was purely on the straights. So we need to stay with Lando Norris here. If we can stay with Lando Norris, we can get P2, maybe even P1 up to the line if we manage to play our cards right, as we set a personal best in the Grand Prix. But on lap 27, we are still within the range of Lando Norris. Leclerc is still 4 seconds back, and luckily for me, Norris had good pace, because with only 3 laps to go in the Grand Prix, the gap to Leclerc is still 4 seconds. So they had similar pace, but luckily we'd managed to build a gap in the pit stop phase without battling other cars. Well, in Norris's case, I would have probably been clear in the lead if it wasn't for the battling with other cars. But up to the line now, we need to have a good exit, but we don't. We have a poor exit, and it looks like, unless we can drain all the ERS, unless Norris runs out early, it looks like we're going to get P2 in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. Can we do it up to the line? It doesn't look likely, but we're going to take a P2. That is a fantastic result from P14 on the grid.
That's a great finish. You've really stepped up and achieved what we asked you to do today, so good job.
As a driver, when you can overcome a day like this and walk away still with a victory.
As the winners make their way up to the podium, one can only imagine the celebrations that will take place at McLaren tonight. Congratulations to everyone on the team, securing the win and proving that they're a force to be reckoned with out on the track.
So in the end, it's redemption for both myself and Lando Norris, as Norris, who span in the sprint, manages to win the Grand Prix, and myself, who finished with only 1 point in the sprint, manages to get P2, and starting P14 on the grid. We had a really good strategy, we were cutting through cars, battling easily, we played it smart with the ERS usage, and overall, guys, that is one of the best managed races I've managed to do all F1 game. Next time out is the Las Vegas Grand Prix, the penultimate race where straight line speed is king, and we have a special straight line speed set up for that race. So I'm hoping that we're going to have good pace, because we know we not only have the best engine, we are also going to finally have a setup which is all about straight line speed. So hopefully we can have a good race in Las Vegas. Again, another home Grand Prix for us, but as you can see there is a regulation change for the chassis. Now, me and Hulkenberg are going to try to do our best to protect this, because I don't want to screw Haas over. Haas have been loyal to me. Ferrari, they haven't been great to me, but Haas, they've been good to me. So let's take a look at the standings. Yeah, you guys can kind of read all of that. After that Grand Prix, we are 6th in the championship. We are now ahead of Lewis Hamilton, and we are also now slightly behind Sergio Perez. And in the constructors, which is the more important thing, we are now 5th, and we have a 20-point gap to Aston Martin, which means that once again we extend, and once again we are looking good for the P5 in the championship with only 2 races to go. But that is going to be all for this race. It was a very uneventful second half of the main Grand Prix, but the sprint I thought was quite fun. I thought the first half of the race, me cutting through all those cars, was very fun. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and I'll see you guys next time for the Las Vegas Grand Prix.